Breeders' Cup action continues, and you know where you got to play it. Play it through NYRA Bets. Breeders' Cup 19. BC19 is the promo code for that $25 risk-free bet in the Juvenile or the Classic, and we'll match up to $200 on your initial deposit. Details at NYRABets.com. The Breeders' Cup Turf. And I believe the last winner of the Breeders' Cup Turf to be the horse of the year was Kodashan in 1993. If Bricks and Mortar completes a perfect season in this Breeders' Cup Turf, he is very likely to be the horse of the year. He's 5 for 5, 4 of those wins grade 1s, 4 of them million-plus races, including the Arlington Million, where Irad Ortiz gave him a great ride. Not much pace, but Irad kept him close on the inside, and he came out in the stretch, and he came with that furious rally that we have seen throughout his brilliant 2019 campaign. A horse that might never have made it back to the races, but he is 10 for 12 in his career, had trouble in his 2 losses. He could be 12 for 12 and looking to finish off his career 13 for 13 in this Breeders' Cup Turf. But what he's doing that he's never done before is he's trying to get 12 furlongs. And that's the question. Were they going to run the Breeders' Cup Mile? Were they going to run him in this race? Well, the purse is twice as big. Trainer Chad Brown has reported he's training as well, if not better, than he's ever trained before, and he has a lot of confidence that he can stretch out to the 12 furlongs. There's some pace in here. He should be sitting relatively close to that pace, 4th or 5th early. If he makes his move at the right time and he finishes at 12 furlongs like he has at 10 furlongs, he's going to be very hard to beat. He's the favorite, and he's not going to be easy to run down in here. But can he get the 12 furlongs? Now, a horse that we know likes the 12 furlongs is Anthony Van Dyke, who's the one who comes over here for Aidan O'Brien, who actually has 2 runners in this race. But Anthony Van Dyke, who won the very prestigious Epsom Derby, is the one that's more talented and the more highly regarded, and very much, I have to think, the second choice in this Breeders' Cup Turf. It's interesting watching this Epsom Derby because he actually broke well and he was in front in the early stages. There were pace setters, rabbits in the race, and he settled back, but he had to search for room behind horses and find his seam. When he finally did, he got the job done, and he beat the very talented Japan, who was improving. He's had an odd year after that. He finished a distant second in the Irish Derby in his next start when he came back 4 weeks later. Then he ran inexplicably poorly at Ascot when he tried the King George. He was terrible, virtually eased that day. He bounced back with a solid effort, going 1.25 miles, probably a little short for him in the Irish Champion, behind the talented Magical, who's retired, and Magic Wand. He's going to have to take a step forward if he's going to beat Bricks and Mortar, if Bricks and Mortar handles the 1.5 miles. But if Bricks and Mortar can't get the 1.5 miles, you know he can, and he's a major player in this race. And interestingly enough, this one seems to be much more pointed for the Breeders' Cup Turf than a lot of runners that Aidan O'Brien has brought over here, and I consider him very much the biggest threat to the favorite. I don't want to discount Arklow. I know Arklow wasn't contentious in this race last year, but let's be honest. This is not as tough a race without Enable as it was last year when Enable and Magical ran so well. And this was an excellent effort. I can make no excuse for Channel Maker or Channel Cat in this race, but Arklow was very much the best horse. He had some early trouble. His rider, Junior Alvarado, did an exceptional job of putting him into the game in this very, very slow pace that benefited Channel Maker and did not benefit Arklow. Arklow was still able to be wide with early trouble, wide the whole way, against the grain of the way he wants to run, and he's going to get more pace in this race. I liked Arklow's effort last time. He's not going to beat Bricks and Mortar if Bricks and Mortar handles the distance, and he may not beat Anthony Van Dyke. But don't discount Arklow, who's coming to this race in the absolute best form of his career. What about the European runner, Old Persian, who comes in and off a win in the Grade 1, and I put it in quotation marks because it certainly was not a Grade 1 field, Northern Dancer. Well, he beat Nessie, and he beat Focus Group. Focus Group came back with a dreadful effort in his next start against Lessers at Keeneland, and this is not the good Focus Group of last year. And I know Old Persian, he won the Shima Classic, but a lot of Godolphin runners seem to run well in those races on Dubai World Cup night. And his other races this year are not good enough to win here, and I don't think his Northern Dancer is good enough to win here. He's going to need an awful lot of horses not to show up, and that's why I prefer a horse like Arklow to him, because I don't think his effort in the Northern Dancer is going to win here. Before showing the picks, I do want to talk about one other runner, and that is Mount Everest coming over for Aidan O'Brien. boy, this is not the typical Aidan O'Brien runner. Now, maybe Aidan O'Brien is just saying, you know what, kind of an improving horse. Outside of bricks and mortar is a question of distance. It's not a particularly tough Breeders' Cup turf this year, so I'm taking a shot. Maybe that's the case. But he's kind of an odd horse. Now, he did finish a close fourth behind Norway, who finished third in the Irish Derby, a race that Anthony Van Dyke was second in it. Maybe he's improving at the right time. I don't know. He comes back on relatively short rest for Aidan O'Brien. What's he doing here? We'll see if he's good enough. I don't know, though. He is a bit of a wild card in this race. My picks, I got bricks and mortar on top. He's the horse to beat. I'm a big fan. A little bit of a sentimental pick, but I've got him in the play. Anthony Van Dyke, the second choice, and the horse to beat if bricks and mortar doesn't fire his best shot at 12 furlongs. Arklow, using him as well, and I'll have the European Stranger Mount Everest in there. But can bricks and mortar complete an undefeated season and most likely be horse of the year with a victory in the Breeders' Cup turf? We'll find out shortly in a race you want to bet through NYRA Bets. Head on over to NYRA Bets. If you're not a member, this is the time to sign up. The promo code is BC19, a $25 free bet in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile or the Breeders' Cup Classic, and we'll match up to $200 of your initial deposit and play. Head on over to NYRABets.com for more information.